So in addition to being a consumer of child, this guy also is on record for beating up a woman. What a gem, dude. Hey, remember when he said he was nonviolent? You're all nonviolent. Huh? He's like, yeah, no, I'm just not a violent person. You're all, except for when you're beating up women and consuming content that videotapes the worst kind of violence that could ever happen to a person when they're children, right? Trump didn't offer any specifics on many proposals. Oh, you mean aside from the specific that he just laid out, dropping the corporate tax from 21% to 15% if you manufacture your goods in the country? Is that not specific? That's not specific? Some economists and fellow Republicans have warned that key Trump policies like expanded tariffs may hurt American consumers by making things more expensive and could harm American workers if countries enact retaliatory tariffs on exports. Okay, so maybe if they do retaliatory, might make things more expensive. Maybe. And then could harm workers if countries enact retaliatory tariffs on exports. Hey, why don't you get specific on that? So I don't know about you guys, but every time I hear about a really wild crime, I think to myself, what kind of person would do that? What kind of person would do that, especially when it comes to kids, And, when it comes to things like PDF files, who actually have these libraries of videos of humans of the smaller kind who are going to eventually become much bigger. It's unbelievable how I have to talk around this. But when you visualize that person, like where you're going to open their computer and you're like, oh my God, this guy's demented. Okay, usually I would say you're caught off guard by what they look like. You're like, man, that guy? And sometimes you're like, well, yeah, I guess I could have seen that coming, I guess I could have seen that coming, right? And what is this guy's name again? Oh, Alexander Routh. How do I know that name? God, Routh, is that? Oh, right. Oh, that's right. That's Ryan Routh would be the guy who took a shot at Trump at the golf course. And this is his son. So yeah, how do I know about what's on Alexander Routh's computer? Because he got popped by the feds and he is in custody for child porn. Wow, who could have predicted that with a father like that, Now, two other topics that we're going to cover in this video is we're going to look at this new report detailing the Secret Service leadership failures around the first assassination attempt because, wow, every time you think you know everything about this thing, it gets weirder, worse, and more suspicious and, I don't know, what's the right word? Just incompetent, right? And the last story of the day, stick around for this. Okay, I want to show you how absurd media coverage is of the things that Trump says. This is one of the most disgusting, just misleading, nonsense. Like they say disinformation all the time. This is a story that is titled, Trump vows to steal jobs from other countries in winding speech on economic plans. Okay, so why is that steal in quotes? Because that's not what he said. Okay, that's not what he said. That's not what he said at all. So they put it in quotes and they just pretend, oh yeah, look at what a disgusting pig this guy is. So we're going to cover that and stick around for that. Now, real quick, two things I don't love doing, but I have to do. I just want to keep reiterating on this channel, it is not free, but it doesn't cost money. Okay. The cost to watch my content consistently is just to click subscribe. I realize I have to say that because most people don't subscribe to channels. But for me, it is so helpful to the channel and it dictates how many people see my content that I have to ask. So if you do not mind, leave the quarter and, donate to muscular dystrophy, take the candy. It's on the honor system. So please subscribe if you're going to be watching my content. And also I want to show you a great patriotic sponsor to this video right now. Today, I want to tell you about the sponsor of this video, Sheath Underwear. This is the longest running sponsor I have had, and that's because we are so culturally aligned. I am buddies now with the owner. He is a veteran, he is a stud, and he wants to bless you with the absolute best pair of underwear that you will ever have, in addition to amazing merch that he has. Sheathunderwear.com is where you go to look. They've got a very special design that I've run through a million times, but if you have never looked at Sheath Underwear stuff, this is a pair of underwear unlike any other. I am wearing them right now. I wear them every single day. And here's the other thing. If you buy anything from this website using the promo code DECADE to celebrate 10 years in business, and you send me a receipt from your purchase to realjesseonfire@gmail.com, I will enter you to win a pair of Air Jordans this month. We're almost at the end of the month. I've only run one other commercial this entire month that put that in there. So you got a pretty good chance, I'm just saying. But even if you don't win, you're still going to be supporting an incredible business with an incredible like-minded owner. And everybody has something here, dude. If you're a lady, if you're a dude, you can buy a gift for someone, you could do whatever, and make sure that you use promo code DECADE to get 30% off site-wide. Now let's start here with the new report on the stunning failures on the Trump assassination attempt, the first one. And then we're going to go through the search result stuff, and then we are going to look at our boy getting hammered for child porn. Oh, geez. Have fun in jail as a kitty diddler. So, okay, Secret Service agents failed to take charge of decision-making for security at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally where Donald Trump was shot. Okay, yeah, so just completely lacking having communication with anyone who was in law enforcement that was not actively on the stage, okay? That's a failure to take leadership. I mean, that seems like such a stunning level of what's the word? Complete incompetence that I don't even like failure to take charge of security, okay? You guys are responsible for saving him in the event that there's a threat when he's on stage, and you have no communication with anyone in law enforcement that is more than 20 yards off the stage. Does that seem like lack of leadership, or does that seem like something so incompetent that you almost have to wonder if it's intentional? The report, citing interviews with top Secret Service officials and law enforcement who oversaw the security for the rally, say the failures were foreseeable and preventable. Oh, you think? And found that many of the problems identified by the committee remain unaddressed by the Secret Service. Yeah, I would say so. Okay, and I will keep on coming back to the fact that it's like, I don't know if you necessarily can just say they remain unaddressed, or if you say their silence is deafening. Okay, their silence is deafening on certain issues. And like I said, listen, I don't know if I've said it in this video, I don't read these articles in advance. I want to react to them live while I'm reading it. And so I just want to say again, okay, when you are talking about an issue that remains unaddressed, let's just talk, how on earth was there not someone covering that roof? Especially given that you had a counter sniper who was on the thing facing directly at them. Are you telling me are you still telling me that for the very first time you have a counter sniper at the event, okay? Trump had never had Secret Service counter snipers there. And you're telling me that they were not able to scan the roof that is 120 yards away from the stage facing right at Trump. You're telling me they couldn't see that? Okay, like remain unaddressed. That is I don't even know what to even say about that. Some of the problems highlighted included the Secret Service failing to set up visual barriers around the rally that may have blocked shooter Matthew Crook's view of Trump. The lack of the plan on how to secure the building the shooter took aim from, and the general chaos of communication around the shooter's movement leading up to the attempt on the front. Yeah, like as in a million people literally are screaming, there's a guy with a rifle on the roof facing Trump. Okay? There's a million. And here's the thing, dude, think about this. Even if there was no communication there, Trump is speaking. There's no one else talking during that time, except for, cheers when he kind of rouses them up. With the amount of people that are screaming, they're only 120 yards away. There's a commotion over there. I haven't even talked about this before. But when you watch those videos and there are people screaming, there's a guy on the roof. There was enough of them screaming that even if you're 100 yards away, you're like, hey, there's something going on over there. Because it's a sound that doesn't make sense. Like there's obviously a commotion. And I can tell you this from being in large crowds 1 million times when a fight breaks out. Okay. The reason that you get your attention drawn there is because there is a bunch of people making noise that does not mix with whatever is, the background noise. And you go, oh, what's going on over there? It's not like the biggest, but it doesn't match. So your attention gets drawn there. Which means that anyone who is supposedly in a position of protecting the president should have gotten their attention drawn there. And yet still, the guy gets off 5 shots. Okay? Homeland Security Chairman Senator Gary Peters told CNN Wednesday morning that his panel heard a lot of finger pointing when they pressed Secret Service agents about who was in charge at that day of the rally. That should be a very clear answer. And the problem is there is no answer. Peters, a Michigan Democrat, said on CNN News Central, what are you talking about? There's no answer. Okay. Secret Service is law enforcement, obviously, but it's also clearly like an extension of, like it's military trained, right? It's the same as military training. They are protocols that are implemented by, military teams. I have a friend who I found out after this runs This is exactly what he does, except he does it privately. He works for a private organization, and they guard high-value targets, international, well, domestic and international. And he's the one who dictates exactly how everything's going to go. Okay, like he's in charge. The idea that there was no one in charge there is ludicrous, impossible. Impossible. You know what I mean? So overall, the lack of an effective chain of command, which came across clearly when we conducted interviews, Senator Routh Blumenthal, a Connecticut Democrat who is leading the subcommittee's investigation, told reporters on Tuesday. It was almost like an Abbott and Costello farce with who's on first, pointing the finger at all the different actors. In a statement Wednesday, Anthony Guglielmi, Secret Service Chief of Communications, said that the report's findings are in line with the agency's own around failures that day, and highlighted the increased protection Trump has received since. Many of the insights gained from the Senate report align with the findings of our mission assurance review and are essential to ensuring what happened in July 13th never happens again. Well, I mean, someone else got set up to where, okay, and let me just say this right now about the second attempt, okay? So what we know just from the official story, right? Trump is on the golf course. Trump is going to a next hole. Someone in the Secret Service recognizes that there is someone with a rifle pointed through the fence in Trump's direction, and they shoot at them. Okay, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? It means there is, again, a direct line of sight between the shooter and the president, assuming that the president was in the vicinity. And of course, because why would the guy have a weapon, through the chain link fence until he can see his target? Okay. So again, we've addressed all these failures. Clearly not, because if a person had line of sight at the shooter, that they took shots at him and he fled, then that means he had line of sight at the president at some point. And had he been a little bit more slick, had he been wearing a ghillie suit, or had he had any kind of, realistic camouflage, he gets a shot off on Trump. Again. It's unbelievable, dude. Nobody was in charge and there was no decision-making process. I mean, I don't know how to say this. No specific agency in charge of securing building shooter fired from. That is the most insane statement I've ever heard in my life. No specific agency in charge of securing the building the shooter fired from. Well, let me guess who should have been in charge of securing that building, right? I'm just going to say maybe the Secret Service would be in charge of securing that building, right? Okay, your job is to make sure the president doesn't get shot. He's going to be standing right here, okay? He's going to be standing right here during his speech, okay? There is one building that is within 150 yards, and it's right there. And there's a roof right there. The Secret Service, I think, is probably the one that gets, the leadership for making sure no one goes up there with a rifle and shoots at the president. Do you guys remember what she originally said? She's like, well, we didn't have someone up there because the roofs were slanted. You're like, what on earth are you talking about? It's like a patsy that didn't realize that I don't know. All right, now I'm going to do everybody a favor and move over to this story about the shooter's son and his future inmate status, because he's a person that likes to watch videos of little babies, okay, in compromising positions with older people who are predators, Really good guy, man. Excellent guy. So this is the dude that was like, my dad's not even a violent person. You're all, hey, are you a violent person? No, not at all. Really? No, I'm not a violent person. So you don't enjoy seeing people get hurt? No, you don't enjoy people getting hurt? No, of course not. I'm a non-violent person. Hey, what if it was kids? Hey, what if it was kids though? So you said you don't like people getting hurt, right? You said you don't like to watch people get hurt. And yet you have compiled a library of people being hurt in the absolute worst possible way when they're children. Does that seem like a contradiction to you? He's like, I never really thought about it that way. I just, what turns me on, turns me on. You're all, that's why we decided instead of taking you to court, we're just going to put you in the ground and do the world a favor. Okay, so FBI investigators were at Routh's home in connection with the investigation of his father, Ryan Routh, 58, who was arrested September 15th after authorities spotted the gun poking out through the golf course. Routh allegedly camped outside the golf course for nearly 12 hours. The Republican presidential candidate was unharmed in the incident. The FBI conducted a search of Aaron Routh's home on September 21st as part of the investigation into his father. Investigators confiscated several electronic devices, including a Samsung Galaxy Note 9. After authorities obtained a warrant to search the electronics, investigators discovered child porn videos on an SD located in the Samsung device. A review of the SD card located in device 1 revealed that it contained hundreds of child porn files, the criminal complaint states. These files included videos from a known child series created outside the state of North Carolina. Wow, that's disgusting. Investigators subsequently found a second device they say contained more and described the content of those videos in graphic detail. Okay. And again, so I want to come right back here to this. Okay. These files included videos from a known series created outside the state of North Carolina. Why do I want to talk about this part? Okay. I just want to make perfectly clear, if there is anyone who thinks there is a difference between a person doing it themselves, which right? Can't prove it yet, but and someone consuming that content. It's not different. If you consume that content, it's just as bad as you doing it. You want to know why? Because the demand for that stuff that you create is what leads to that happening to the child. Okay, if there's none of you guys out looking for it, then no one's going to record it and send it. Now, obviously, there would be people who victimize kids, but the ones who are doing it and videotaping it, they're doing that for you. So you may as well have done it yourself, scumbag. Okay, Aaron Routh has a criminal history, including arrests in 2015 and 2016 for driving while impaired, assault on a female, and interfering with an emergency communication, online's records show. Wow. Awesome, dude. Hey, awesome. So in addition to being a consumer of child, this guy also is on record for beating up a woman. What a gem, dude. Hey, remember when he said he was nonviolent? You're all nonviolent. Huh? He's like, yeah, no, I'm just not a violent person. You're all, except for when you're beating up women and consuming content that videotapes the worst kind of violence that could ever happen to a person when they're children, right? You meant nonviolent, aside from that, right? All right, so continuing on about this gem. A federal judge on Monday ordered Ryan Routh to be held in custody pending his trial on federal gun charges, though more serious charges are likely to come. Oh, well, no, this is behind the times. He's been charged with the assassination attempt. So that's it, dude. That's it. Whoa. Look at what we just stumbled on, huh? Just kidding. But if you have not watched my video that I did about J-Lo and the Freak Off tapes today, you should definitely 100% check that out, because my goodness gracious. All right, so as promised, let's go through this gem of an article. Okay, so Trump vows to steal jobs from other countries in winding speech on economic plans. Savannah, Georgia. Former President Donald Trump said economic policies he would enact in his second term would create an environment to steal manufacturing jobs that have moved overseas through tax cuts and tariffs. Steal them. Okay, again, steal manufacturing jobs that have moved overseas. You mean move them back to the United States where they originally were? Okay, in a winding speech in front of about 2,500 raucous supporters. Oh my God, raucous supporters in the Johnny Mercer Theater in Savannah on Tuesday, Trump shared his idea for a manufacturing renaissance that he says would bring millions of jobs back to the U.S. from overseas. Wow. I mean, what a terrible idea. Gosh, how terrible would that be for the United States to create or recreate manufacturing jobs that have been moved overseas by globalists and greedy capitalists who are destroying the American middle class by, Okay, anyway. So with the vision I'm outlining today, not only will we stop our businesses from leaving for foreign lands, but under my leadership, we're going to take other countries' jobs. Do you ever hear that expression before? Have you ever heard that we're going to take other countries' jobs? It's never been stated before. We're going to take their factories and we're going to take their factories, and we had it really rocking 4 years ago. We're going to bring thousands and thousands of businesses and trillions of dollars in wealth to the good old USA. Now, when they act like this is something that's like, you understand that Trump actually saved multiple huge manufacturing, plants that were going to move them overseas. And Trump went in there. He's all, if you do this, I'm going to do this. And they didn't do it. Okay. That is actually protecting American workers. You do understand that, right? Okay. Manufacturing jobs and that kind of thing, just moving that overseas so that we can have cheaper goods. This is not rocket science. Okay. That means people with lots of money who have expendable income to be able to buy lots of goods are going to get cheaper products. But the people who actually need the jobs and are going to be thrown into abject poverty if they lose a job, they get thrown into abject poverty. Okay. The death of the middle class. That's what they're talking about. Okay. And these people like spinning this and smearing it is disgusting. Do you understand what you're actually doing? Like, do you understand what you're doing when you do this, when you misrepresent these things? At least be honest about what he's claiming he's going to do. If you think he won't be able to do it, then say that. Explain why it's going to be a problem. Okay? But don't pretend like he's doing something, like devious by saying he wants to bring back manufacturing jobs. Trump called for lowering the corporate tax from 21% to 15% for those who make their product in the USA. Genius. That is a good policy. Incentivize people manufacturing their products here, especially really big companies that make lots of money. Okay, continue to push for substantial tariffs on imported goods and propose special manufacturing zones on federal land with ultra low taxes and regulations for American producers. I mean, like, come on, man. This is like, it's unbelievable. The reason why the Democrats do this thing where they just talk about how he's an evil dictator and a tyrant, no, he's a fascist and blah, 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 is because they don't want to talk about this stuff, because their corporate donors are the ones who get hurt by this type of policy. The American worker is the one who benefits from this type of policy. I mean, the big corporations, you would think that they'd be stoked about reducing the corporate tax from 21% to 15%. But they're like, I still think we're going to be a lot better off if we can pay people $1.50 an hour. Let's be honest here, right? We're going to use our resources to our benefit, Trump said, also touting fewer environmental regulations around manufacturing. It'll be clean and environmentally perfect so that Americans can manufacture everything that we need. The resources we have right here, American soil, it's got everything. It's got the rare earth, it's got the oil, it's got the gas. We have everything. The only thing we don't have is smart people leading our country. Well, or they're so smart that they are, sacrificing American manufacturing jobs for their own personal gain, not the gain of the country. I love this. Look at this. Listen to this. Trump didn't offer any specifics on many proposals. Oh, you mean aside from the specific that he just laid out, dropping the corporate tax from 21% to 15% if you manufacture your goods in the country? Is that not specific? That's not specific. Some economists and fellow Republicans have warned that key Trump policies like expanded tariffs may hurt American consumers by making things more expensive and could harm American workers if countries enact retaliatory tariffs on exports. Okay, so maybe if they do retaliatory, might make things more expensive. Maybe. And then could harm workers if countries enact retaliatory tariffs on exports. Hey, why don't you get specific on that? Why don't you get specific on that, dude? Give us some specifics there. I'm not a fan of tariffs. They raise the prices for American consumers. Senate Republican Mitch McConnell told reporters Tuesday, I'm more of a free trade kind of Republican that remembers how many jobs are created by the exports that we engage in. So I'm not a tariff fan. Okay, well, are you a fan of your corporate donors, or are you a fan of manufacturing jobs being saved by the American government, protecting American jobs? Of course you're not a tariff fan, because you represent the people who get screwed by not being able to take entire manufacturing plants and moving them to Taiwan, or to pick one, Mexico. This stuff is insane. The fact that people fall for this shit is the most infuriating thing. I can't. I honestly can't. The main thrust of Trump's tax address was tax and manufacturing policy, but like most speeches, it meandered through his typical campaign stump speech themes. He attacked Vice President Harris as the tax queen, whose proposals on tax unrealized investment gains for certain ultra-wealthy Americans would lead to financial depression, which it would. And she's not going to do it. But he also riffed that she had bigger cognitive problems than President Biden. Who cares? They say he's a convicted felon. They say all this stuff. Like, give me a break. Oh my God, he did that. We did that. Wow, he did that. I can't, dude. I'm done.